John Thune joins us from Capitol Hill today. Senator, thanks for coming on NewsNation. We appreciate it.
You bet, Connell. Thanks.
I want to start with the comments a short time ago that Kelly referenced from Leader McConnell that it looks like it's just about impossible to get this supplemental through before Christmas. Pick up on this, on the timing, and whether or not there's any chance something gets done on aid to Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, and the border.
Yeah. Well, and I think, honestly, Connell, the leader was just reflecting the reality of what it takes to get anything across the finish line here in the Senate, then the House, and on the president's desk. And, we've been trying for weeks to get the Democrats' attention, the president's attention on doing something on our southern border. We view that to be a major national security crisis. We saw last week anywhere between 10,000, 12,000 people coming across the border illegally every single day, not to mention about 1,000 gotaways, an increasing number of people on the terrorist watch list trying to get into this country illegally as well. I mean, this is a major vulnerability for our country. You heard, the director of the FBI, Chris Wray, say last week that lights are blinking everywhere I turn in terms of potential for a terrorist attack. So, this is we believe something that needs to be addressed in the context of a national security bill, and we're happy to work to get all the other pieces, components of this done, but we've got to have that element added, and that's not something the Democrats, up until now at least, have been willing to entertain.
In what way specifically, Senator? I hear all the time about we want to do more on the border, but what are you alluding to specifically? Is it humanitarian parole? Is it or the asylum laws, expedited removal? These are specific motions that have come up in various conversations, but what's the holdup in these discussions? Where is the White House not giving in, or the Democrats where you'd like to see them give in? Is it asylum? What is it specifically?
They've been reluctant to engage on any of those issues. The asylum issue, they've had some conversations around that standard needs to be changed. That's one element of this. You mentioned parole. That's obviously humanitarian parole. That's one way that people are being released into the country if they aren't eligible for asylum. Safe third country, people who come to this country can claim asylum in other countries prior to arriving at the United States. There are several ways in which you can slow the flow. The problem we have right now is the signals to come into this country are all green, flashing green. And people obviously respond to incentives, and so they're coming into this country in droves. And, we've got to change those signals and the magnets that keep pulling people across our southern border. And it used to be, a lot of the conversation around this was geographic. It was Central and South America. But now you've got tons of people coming across the border, Chinese nationalists, thousands of those. You've got thousands of people from the Middle East, 659 Iranians. This is a national security issue that has to be addressed.
Now, the Democrats would say that the Republicans would rather have these issues hanging out there, that it's somehow politically beneficial for you to have that rather than get something done. But you're saying they haven't budged on any of those issues? Asylum law specifically. Hasn't there been some, level of compromise offered on the Democratic side, or you're telling us no?
No, there's been some movement on asylum, but that gets to about 10% of the number, the daily number. And so you've got to deal with the other aspects of this. And they have been reluctant. I mean, I get read into most of these conversations, and James Langford, the senator from Oklahoma, who's been leading our discussions on this, has tried repeatedly through the weekend to get the White House to engage unsuccessfully. It wasn't really until this morning that we actually started to hear from the White House. So, look, we've been trying to do this for weeks. I don't think the Democrats thought we were serious. We are. This has to be a part of the solution.
Why not hang around through the holidays? Would you encourage Speaker Johnson to keep the House in session? And what about the Senate? Just, stay there, get it done as long as it takes.
I think that whatever the leader decides to do here in the Senate, we will do. But it means the White House has to engage on this subject. Now, granted, and I think that you heard the leader reflect this earlier, that even if the Senate moves, with the House leaving town Thursday, unlikely we get a bill on the president's desk before the holiday. Meaning that this is going to be a lot of pressure as we've got funding deadlines coming up later. Look, I think it's it's entirely up to the Democrats. And I think that, at least here in the Senate, I can't speak for the House. I think the House is prepared to process whatever it is the Senate sends over, but we have to do our work here in the Senate. And at least right now, we haven't been able to get the White House in particular to engage on this very important national security issue.